Hello, everyone. Jumping on a little early. I just want to make sure my microphone is working. Can you let me know if you can hear me if you're on right now? Hi, Marnie. Hi, Sheena. Hi, Grateful One, Harrison, Rianne. Okay, great. Hi, Paulina. Hi, Sam. Happiness by Margot. Hello, everyone. Come on in. Just jumping on a little bit early to just pull the energies in and settle into the space. How are you guys doing? A lot to discuss, a lot to dissect. I'm going to draw pictures, dissecting the energies. 1 second. Hello, Scotland, Finland, we're all over the world, Argentina, Phoenix, Arizona. Yay, Michelle, catching me live. Yeah, I didn't know if I was going to make it. So I'm going to wait a few more minutes to just let everybody jump on. But it has been quite an interesting first 30 days of 2020, to say the least. And I really want to dissect and break down what is energetically happening visually so that we can have a kind of visual understanding of all of this, because it is getting more intense for a lot of us, and also getting much easier. Moments of really high expanded states, and then just jolted back into these states where there's just a lot of purging still, right? Or releasing. And why is this? What does it actually look like? What's actually happening, right? Sam, I'm so happy you're here. Hi, Zora, Divine Love. Hi, Kay. Aaron, sick. Yeah, there's a lot of physical symptoms that people are having right now. A lot, which is just part of moving through frequencies, moving literally through dimensional fields. You are literally swinging through dimensional fields in every single one of your nows. So of course, there is going to be so much physical sensation that you will be having. It only makes sense, right? Digestive stuff, yep. Headaches galore. Eyesight. I mean, all kinds of stuff. Vertigo. I've been having massive amounts of vertigo. Indigestion, just all kinds of interesting things I'm not used to feeling. Okay, so it's 11 a.m. Let's begin. Welcome, everyone. Thank you for being here live. I'm excited to be here live with you guys and dissect these energies that we're having and experiencing and going through right now. I have to say that personally, this month has probably been one of the most intense months for me in a long time. I've been exhausted every single morning, unable to even get up until like 8:39. Massive amounts of vertigo, and a deep purging of really old patterns and belief systems. And all of this happening literally within hours, right? So just this constant moving back and forth. And the reason I'm coming on today is because this isn't going to stop. We are in a very intense roller coaster ride right now. And I want to ease everyone's worry or anxiety or stress or any other judgment or attachment that you may have around this process that we're going through. Last night, I will share a personal experience that really propelled me to come on live today. Yesterday, I was experiencing very intense, very deep, very old programs, belief systems. And they had been coming up for a while. And I had been working on them, meaning acknowledging them, honoring them, seeing them, loving them, and literally moving with them, right? Like days and weeks where I would be out of those belief systems and then propelled back into the belief systems. And I had this moment of screaming, this like, I'm freaking done. I'm done. I can't keep doing this. And I sat with my guides and out loud, I was like, I need you guys to help me so much right now because I don't know what else to do. I don't know if I can keep doing this, right? Because the more awake we become, which means the more we shift into higher states of consciousness, the more we are going to be aware of every single minute experience that we have, every emotion, every thought, every belief, every paradigm, every program, every behavior, all of it, right? Because we are increasing our frequency, we are becoming energetic, more energetic. And so we are aware of all the energy that is coming up, that is coming in, that is being projected around us, all of it. And you can't escape it, right? There's no escaping. There's no escaping. There's no bypassing. There's no pretending. There's no pushing it off to the side. It's like we have jumped in and holy cow, it's go time. And we can't escape it now, right? So there's this feeling of being completely out of control. And one of the biggest, hold on a second. Oh good, my moderator's here. One of the strongest aspects of being human is controlling our environment, controlling our behaviors, controlling our emotions. And so here I was yesterday in desperation, like begging my guides for help. And they said, okay, we'll help you. We've been helping you, by the way, but it's going to get intense. And I said, I don't care however intense it gets. I don't care. I want you to help me move this through these belief systems. And they said, okay, you're going to be out of control. I said, okay, fine, whatever. You're going to be exhausted. I don't care. You're going to sink. Basically, they're like, what you're going to be going through, it's not going to be easy, basically is what they said. I'm trying to put it into human words, okay? And I said, I don't care, just help me, right? And so that was yesterday afternoon, and slowly but surely, these belief systems, these programs, these ways that I have been in my human aspect for the last 44 years literally became these large sort of monster voices in my space. It was like, holy shit. it consumed me. I was freaked out. I was like, oh my God, this is so, it got so big, so loud, so strong that the aspect of me that's the higher self, the light being, the I am presence, the part of me that observes, the part of me that knows how to do this was gone. It was like I became this little baby that was like, somebody please hold me. I think I'm going to literally dissolve in this consciousness that's consuming me, which was third dimensional beliefs, programs, and paradigms that I held for the last 44 years. And I crawled into bed around 8 o'clock and literally curled up in a ball. And I felt like I was in a cave, like I wanted to hide. And I was scared because I couldn't control this. And I knew that my guide said it was going to be intense. So I knew I was okay. But it was so dark that I hadn't been in that dark of a space in a long time. And I woke up at 5 a.m. and I was still in it. And I felt like I wasn't going to get out of it. Like I wasn't going to be able to teach. I wasn't going to be able to talk about this because I wasn't going to be able to teach it because I wasn't going to be able to get out of it. And so I started talking out loud to myself and to my guides about this. This is what it is. This is what it feels like. This is what it looks like. I recognized that in this moment, I couldn't be the observer. I couldn't observe it. Right? Which is very rare for me. I'm typically observing everything. I couldn't observe it. I was in it. And so my guide said, okay, you're in it. You can't observe it, but can you recognize at least what it is that you're going through? And I said, yeah, I can feel it. I can experience it. And then they said, we want you to get it out, almost like you're purging. We want you to speak it. Talk it out, get it out. Because I had this fear that it was going to stay. Like, oh shit, I'm doomed. I'm done. I'm screwed. It felt that dense and that heavy on me. And so I spoke it to a friend of mine. I spoke it out loud to myself. I honored it. I acknowledged it. I got it out. Because what I noticed and could notice myself doing was holding it in, keeping it in, right? And not sharing it and not getting it out, which would only suffocate the energy. See, energy naturally flows. It naturally moves. And so any belief, it's an energy. Any thought, an energy. Any emotion, it's energy. And if it is asking to be seen and purged out of the physical form, as the physical form is shifting, it needs to be felt through, right? That's how it moves. And this stuff was so intense that not only did I feel it intensely, I laid in a cocooned baby state all night and all morning. So I knew how to feel it, but I had to put words to it. And that is what moved it. I had to speak it. I had to see it because I was so afraid of it. I was so freaking scared of it that I didn't want to see it. I felt it, but I didn't want to see it. It was different. But when I started putting words to it, almost like I was pointing at that monster consciousness, right? I was pointing at it. Like, I know what you are. I know what you say to me. I know these things, right? I know that consciousness. So it wasn't good enough for me, or it wasn't helping to just feel it. I had to speak to it. And when I started acknowledging all of it, it started literally, in that moment, it started dissolving out of me. I could feel it dissolving out of me. I felt myself getting lighter. And I was like, oh my God, I think it's lifting, right? I think I feel it lifting. And I got up and I went to the shower and I did my shower thing and I went and got coffee. And I was so conscious of my nows. I am so conscious of my now moments because I teach. everything that I go through, that I am acutely aware of every single thing I feel in every moment. So I'm literally like gauging where I'm at throughout the morning. And by 8 a.m., before my Patreon live meditation that I did, it was gone. It was completely gone. Now, is it going to come back? I have no idea. We don't know, right? We're going through this blindly. But I am sharing this with you right now before I go into my beautiful pictures, my drawings. I'm telling you this right now because I thought I was crazy. And I teach this. And I know how to do this. And I thought I was crazy. I did. I thought I was not going to get out of it. And I've never been in that place. And I said, if I'm feeling this way, and I know how to do this because I do it 24/7, what is everyone else experiencing? And I have a beautiful connection to my guides. I can hear them. What happens to the people that can't hear their guides? When you ask for assistance, it comes, but it's not always a fun ride. And so you ask for assistance and then it gets real freaking rocky. And guess what happens? You doubt everything. And you say, oh my God, they didn't hear me, right? I'm not doing this right. I'm not hearing them correctly. There must be something wrong with me. I asked my guides for help and look what happened. I was cocooned in my bed for 12 hours, not sure if I was going to freaking come out of it. And had I not been able to hear my guides and trust them, I don't know what it would have been like. So just know that when you ask for assistance, it's not always roses and beautiful walks through the park. It may be you curled up in a ball for 12 hours crying and begging for it to go away. And what I did was shift it, not by trying to get out of it. Oh, hell no. Not once did I try to think or move myself into a higher frequency. I loved myself, which is moving into a higher frequency, but I didn't love myself to try to move into a higher frequency. You see, there's a difference. I loved myself through it as much as I could, and that was hard. I had compassion for myself as much as I could, and that was challenging. But I dived deep into it. I dived in. I let myself be in it. That is the only way it passes. And so if you are having experiences similar to this, please know you're not crazy. Please know that if feeling it isn't enough, speak it out loud, talk it out loud, write it out loud, call somebody, write it in an email and send it to somebody, get it out. Because that will help the energy move as well. Because sometimes when it gets real intense, we freeze. We feel it, but we freeze. And in that freezing, it captures the energy that's wanting to be released. So what's occurring right now for so many of us in this first month, and I got to say, I was definitely not prepared for what 2020 was going to bring. I knew what it was about. I knew the energies and what the energies were about, but I was not prepared for the intense sort of, I don't even have words for it. it's very subtle, and it's an intensity that's very subtle, right? It's us actually physically moving back and forth between dimensional fields, like being in a washing machine. We are literally, physically, our bodies are physically ping-ponging back and forth right now between 3 different dimensional fields. And one of the things that's extremely important to understand that we're learning is that this 3rd dimensional consciousness that so many of us don't like, it's not going anywhere. So we are learning how, as we ping pong back and forth, we are learning how to stand in whatever frequency and vibration we're holding in that now, navigating the massively large 3rd dimensional consciousness that consumes so much of this experience, an experiment on Earth. Okay? That is massive. That is a huge part of 2020 right now. That's why it's so important to have the clarity, because you have to be able to see through the dimensional lines. It's like you're looking out and you see the 3rd dimension, the 4th dimension, and the 5th dimension in every now. Your body feels all 3 dimensions. You're holding all 3 dimensions. You're being all 3 dimensions, literally in every now. And what happens during the ascension process is that we start to shift more frequency. We start to hold more frequency that is in the higher dimensional fields. And we hold less energy, less light that is vibrating in the lower fields. So the scale starts to tip into the 4th and 5th dimensional fields out of the 3rd dimensional field. So when you are looking out and being, you zoom right through the 3rd dimensional field and you start playing in the 4th and 5th over and over and over, but you are still looking through a lens that shows you all 3 dimensions. You understand? You are navigating 3 separate dimensional fields in every now. You're going to feel crazy. So it's almost like, let me show you a picture. So you've got yourself standing here, right? This is going to be fun. If anybody's seen my pictures, they're beyond not kindergarten. I mean, they're like preschool. Okay, so here you are, right? In a 3rd dimensional field. We've got a 4th dimensional field and we've got a 5th dimensional field, right? And when I say field, this is a dimensional field that when you are vibrating, when your body vibrates in this 4th dimensional field, you're going to be experiencing being in 4th dimensional consciousness, right? When your body is vibrating more in a 5th dimensional field, you're going to be being more in that consciousness, okay? Now, all 3 of these are existing. All 3 of you, right? This is you. This is one version of you, but in 3 separate sort of dimensional fields. This is all happening in a now moment. One now moment. So it can look like this. So here you are, right? And then here's another version of you. And here's another version of you, right? 3, 4, and 5, let's say. And this is all the quantum. So this is happening all in the now. You are used to being in this field. All of the programs, all of the beliefs, all of the trauma, all of the pain, everything you've experienced in your life exists in this dimensional field. Okay. As you start shifting, as your body starts to hold more light, it starts to move you into the 4th dimensional field where you start to experience completely different consciousnesses. As you start doing that, you start to purge the paradigms or the programs, right? You start to purge the programs. You start to purge emotions. You start to purge relationships. You start to purge jobs. You start to purge all of these things. Purge meaning they release out of your form. So you're releasing these things that are held in this third dimensional consciousness that you've lived in, as with behaviors, right? Addictions. Let's not forget addictions. There's so many things that we have experienced that are consciousness and energy held within the body. So the body starts to shift and move you into this fourth dimensional field, and these things start to pop up and ask to be released or purged, right? As you start shifting into the fourth dimensional field, guess what you start to hear more of? The higher self. Holy shit. When the higher self starts speaking, the higher self is going to teach you and push you towards this aspect of you. And of course, this aspect of you. When the higher self starts speaking more and more and more, guess what gets louder? The relationships, the emotions, the traumas, the pains, the jobs, everything that no longer serves the version of you that you are shifting into. Right? So then you start moving into the fifth dimensional consciousness. Your body starts to hold more light, and you start tapping into 5D consciousness, right? And the higher self gets even louder. These things get even more pronounced because you're holding so much more light, allowing you to be in that 5D consciousness. But guess what's also happening? You're still circulating between these three fields. So you're in this space at 7:32 in the morning, and by 8:50, you're feeling a trauma that you haven't felt for 30 years. And then by noon, you're back in this 5D consciousness. Or perhaps you're in this field, courageously in this field, rolled up in a ball in your bed, purging a very, very dense, which means it holds a lot of consciousness that you've experienced in this field, belief system for hours. There are still aspects of you in the 5D. There's still aspects of you in the 4D. And by the way, there's many higher frequencies within your body as you are in the third dimensional field, allowing yourself to dissolve these densities. This is what's happening. This is what's happening. We are moving through this, right? All intertwined in every now. So it's back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, over and over and over. And this third dimension is where your relationships are coming up and asking to be reevaluated, where your emotions are starting to be getting more intense, right? The jobs are no longer resonating. Programs that you've played in are no longer resonating, right? And they're not resonating because you've been experiencing yourself in these higher frequencies. And when they don't resonate anymore, they're asking to be seen, felt, loved, and released. Now, here's the challenging piece. This is where the higher self comes in. When we start moving into these higher aspects of ourselves, okay? So these are higher aspects of you. The fourth dimensional human, the fifth dimensional human, right? When you start moving into these higher versions of you, it takes a huge amount of courage to trust that by letting go of these things, that by surrendering to these things and releasing them, you're going to step into something more abundant, something more expansive, something that holds more love, more joy, more peace, more beautiful. This is what we are all shifting into. And guess what? You can't see what this looks like. Shifting consciousness and energy, you can't see it. You have to feel it. You have to feel and know that you are moving into higher versions of you in every now, even when you are sitting in a ball in your bed for 12 hours crying and thinking you're crazy and never going to come out of it. In those moments, can you remember you're shifting into these higher frequencies? It doesn't mean you're screwed and this isn't happening. It means I need to find more trust and more surrender. It means I have to know that the most challenging things that are coming up for me right now, relationships that are being asked to be resolved in some way, speaking my truth, putting up boundaries, saying no, shifting out of jobs, whatever it is, every single thing that is coming up for you right now is an opportunity to move into these higher frequencies, these higher aspects of you. Everything. All of it. And it's not easy because this consciousness is comfortable. These jobs, relationships, programs, behaviors, addictions, they're comfortable, you guys. And they don't resonate anymore. And we get angry because we continue to feel them or we continue to be in them. We get upset with ourselves. Why am I still here? Why am I still here? I've felt these aspects of me. I know I can be in these aspects. I know it. I know it. I know it. And yet here I am. You get pulled back into this field so that you can release it. You don't have to try to solve a puzzle, right? You don't solve anything. You trust and remember that this aspect of us is what is moving you through this elevator ride. And it's blind. Many times it will be very blind. It'll be like, holy shit, I hope I can do whatever it is that my higher self is asking me to do. I've got to cross my fingers. Ascension is done blindly. There is no roadmap that says go here, then turn here, then turn here, then turn here. It's blind. It's energy. You can't see the energy. You can't see these dimensional fields. You feel it. You feel it. So it takes a lot of courage to do what we're doing. And 2020 is shining the spotlight on all of these wheels that are poked out from your third dimensional form. And they're getting louder and louder and louder and louder and louder and louder and louder. And what do? We get upset. Because 2 days ago, I was in this really high frequency. I was in love and I was expanded and I was aligned and I felt great. What we start to learn how to do is fall deep into whatever we're experiencing, not with the ego, but from the lens of the higher self. That I am not the wheels that are poking out from my third dimensional experience that are being released. I am not these things. I experienced all these things. I created all of these things to be able to be in this 3D field. And I'm releasing them. I am releasing them. That's why they're coming up. That's why it's uncomfortable. That's why I don't like it. That's why I'm getting angry. I am releasing it. What is this aspect of you? What does it look like? What does it feel like? What does it sound like? You have to be able to start to hold and know these versions of you. It's blind. There's no, because we live in a quantum field, nothing's permanent. Nothing is an absolute. There is no absolute in this experience. There is an infinite amount of experiences, opportunity, ways, consciousnesses, energies to be. So in the quantum field, we have no idea what this is. But to be able to sort of blindly lead ourselves there with like a walking cane of some sort, we have to start to build or visualize this aspect of us. What kind of relationship do you have? What kind of job are you doing? Where do you live? What kind of abundance are you bringing in? Right? Because when you start to step into these fields more and more, especially the fifth dimensional consciousness, the fifth dimensional field more and more, when you start holding that in your body more, tapping into it, you remember, oh my God, I'm an infinite creator. I'm an abundant creator. I can have anything I want. There are no restrictions on what can be mine. The programs in the 3D will tell you, oh no, you have to work really hard, or you have to put money away in your 401k in order to, look into the future, and, all these things that are third dimensional, right? Future basing, preparing for the future, working really hard, being in relationships where you believe you have to really suffer or struggle or fight or work hard, right? Beautiful, beautiful programs, beautiful third dimensional programs. But when you start stepping into the 5D, all of those are going to be asked to be looked at. Hey, can you look at that program and the way you've been doing things? Because that's not going to be you over here. So we need you to be aware of it and release it. You got to let it go. You got to drop it off so that you can walk into. So here we are. We're in all three. We're in all three of these dimensions at all times. We're moving back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. Right here, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. Over and over and over, all day long. So the key here is to not attach. Not attach. Not attach to anything. And to allow yourself to be in it, no matter how intense it gets. And to remember, this is ascension. Ascension is not being in a third dimensional field and then boop, shooting right over to this beautiful expanded 5D new earth reality, and then boom, there you go. Because if you've been doing this long enough, you know that that's not happening. That's not how it works, right? You don't do that. Ascension is this, and this. All at the same time. Dunk, dunk, dunk. All at the same time. Moving through it. Over and over and over and over and over and over and over. Until you've released enough of those wheels, right? Enough of that density where you're now holding yourself in this 5D consciousness for most of the time. And even when you're holding yourself in this 5D consciousness most of the time, you are always going to be standing among a 3D consciousness. Again, I want you to visualize sort of like you're looking out through a telescope, right? And you're moving through a third dimension, a fourth dimension, and a fifth dimension. Your body's doing the same thing, right? Even when you hold a lot of 5D consciousness in your body, you are still going to be standing in and among a 3D consciousness, just like Jesus, just like a lot of masters. Jesus wasn't not in 3D. His body was 3D. He was in 3D consciousness the entire time he was on the earth plane. Not once did he make it a big deal and say, oh my God, I'm in 3D consciousness. Holy shit, I better get out of here. This is bad. This is not good. Look at all this destruction. Look at all the chaos. What Jesus did was he understood dimensions. He understood frequency and energy. He understood that all of the humans were being exactly what they were in that consciousness. He didn't blame any of them because he knew it wasn't their fault. They were in 3D consciousness. What Jesus did do was he reminded the human of who they were. He reminded the human that they are not that consciousness that they are in. As we ascend into these higher states, we do not escape the third dimensional consciousness. We learn how to be the higher states while you are still experiencing and standing in third dimensional consciousness until the entire field has shifted, which is going to take a very long time. So this is about holding the three dimensions, figuring out where you are every now moment in those three dimensions based on where your vibration is within your body, what you're thinking, feeling, hearing, experiencing, all of that. Not judging it, okay? Because again, there's nothing wrong with any of these. There is nothing wrong with this process. This process is a natural, fluid movement of energy. And the body is doing it. The body's anchoring more energy and more light, more light, more light, more light, more light, more light. And in the quantum space, you're still going to see, feel, and experience third dimensional consciousness, fourth dimensional consciousness, fifth dimensional consciousness. You don't judge it as bad. So here's the thing. When you're standing in a 5D consciousness, completely in it, just like Jesus was, right? He just embodied it. You don't look out at all of the really horrific experiences and judge it as bad. In a 5D consciousness, you're looking out at that 3D world and that 3D reality and understanding that that is just consciousness being consciousness. That human is just being a third dimensional human consciousness. It's just doing what it's designed to do in that body, navigating 3D consciousness. That is really challenging for most of us to do because most of us are not holding and embodied in 5D consciousness yet. Totally okay. Are we experiencing 5D consciousness? Yes. We're doing this flow. We're flowing back and forth. So yeah, we're feeling 5D consciousness or 5D consciousness and 4D consciousness and 3D consciousness. We're learning how to be able to look out and say, oh, that human form that is doing these horrific things is just being the light being that it is in human form in this third dimensional field and consciousness that it is consumed in based on what it has chosen itself to experience in this human journey. Wow, they're just doing their thing. They're doing their life. They're playing out their Akashic records. They're doing their thing. Me, still in a third and fourth dimensional frequency for the most part, right? I look out and say, what the F are you doing? How can you do that? That makes me feel sadness. That makes me feel grief. That makes me feel angry, right? That makes me feel like I want to go and kick you or hit you or fight, argue with you, right? That's the third dimensional aspect of me playing in the third dimensional realm. If I were to move myself into that 5D consciousness and try to practice being in that 5D consciousness, I would then try to practice holding this loving awareness around what is actually occurring with that human beating up a person or a dog or whatever may be happening. It doesn't mean that I'm going to be able to do it, but I am recognizing what I'm doing. I'm recognizing that it's all energy. that human that's doing those horrific things are deeply, deeply, deeply engrossed in third dimensional consciousness. There is absolutely nothing wrong with that. Nothing. My human reaction around it is going to show me where I'm at, and then I don't judge it. Right? That's why it's really challenging for a lot of us that are waking up to see these really, really difficult things occur on the earth plane. It's not that you don't allow yourself to feel the emotion, because again, you're still in 3D consciousness. By all means, give yourself that permission. Denying how you're feeling is denying who you are in that now moment. Trying to pretend to be anything other than is denying the now. So you're not even being, you're pretending. But you want to be aware of your reaction, your response, how you're viewing it, what you're thinking, what you're feeling around it, because it's going to show you where you're at. Again, no judgment around that. But as you start moving into these higher frequencies more and more and sort of playing in them more and more, you'll be able to look at the third dimensional consciousness and say that human has a being of light inside of it, just like me, that chose an Akashic record just like me and is playing out their role. And I'm going to have these emotional responses perhaps, and that's okay. It takes a highly, highly evolved, high frequency human form to be able to look out without any judgments around anything that's occurring, right? So we always want to have that compassion. But the point here to all of this, you guys, is to understand that it is 3 separate dimensional fields that you are actually physically moving through. Now, there are many other dimensional fields that you may tap into, and that's great, but you're nowhere near physically moving into them. This is physical. This is physical movement. Your body is physically moving through 3 separate dimensional fields because it is holding 3 separate dimensional fields in the now moment. That's why it feels like you're on a roller coaster ride or you're in a washing machine and you're moving all over the place. That's why there's all these physical symptoms that people are having that are more intense than ever before. There's this constant ricocheting of these timelines, right? And the biggest thing they're saying right now is to remind all of us is this takes patience, and to not beat ourselves up. This takes patience. It takes a lot of patience. It takes conscious awareness, a remembrance and an understanding of what's happening. That there is an aspect of you that knows exactly what's going on and how to do this. You came into this form to do what you're doing right now. You came into your body. Believe it or not, you can have all the temper tantrums you want about it. Trust me, I have. But you came in to experience. There are many things and many reasons you came in, but one of the reasons that you are in form right now is to experience this physical shift in consciousness, which, by the way, is an absolute freaking miracle. You won't even realize the miracle it is until you're no longer in the form, because we're too in it to really understand the miracle of it. To shift consciousness in a physical form from such a low frequency is heroic. If every day when we woke up, there was a group of beings that cheered us on and were rooting for us every morning. Every morning when we woke up and got up out of bed, there was our group of beings, right? And they had balloons, and they had, they had songs playing for us, and they had signs up, and they were like, "You are a rock star. You're nailing it. You're amazing. You go get that day," right? We would be like, "Oh shit, I am doing something. I am pretty badass. I don't know what the hell I'm doing, but I must be pretty badass if every single morning these beautiful beings of high frequency are telling me this." They are. Every day, every moment of your days, every now, they are cheering you on. We are being cheered on from these higher dimensional fields, and we can't see it, we can't hear it. But think of how that shifts us when we do recognize this. They're showing me, like, every single one of us having this team of beings that are like throwing parties for us every morning. It doesn't make the human journey any easier. It doesn't make what I experienced the last 24 hours easier. But I can tell you that where I am right now and where I was 24 hours ago is a completely different aspect of me. And there's nothing wrong with any of it. And when I was cocooned in and feeling like I was losing my mind and never going to be able to come out of it, I was also this version of me that I am right now, completely aligned and connected and open to all of this. That's the quantum. That is being all of this. It's being all of it. And you honor where you are, wherever you are, you don't just honor and love the 5D consciousness. Remember, you guys, whatever is coming up for you and continuing to come up for you, don't get upset with it. Don't push it aside. Don't be afraid of it. Don't be afraid of it. Know that you have the courage. You have the knowingness. You have the guides to assist you through it. Otherwise, it wouldn't be coming up. Whatever's coming up, as tiny as it may be, or as huge as it may be, like mine were last night, these huge monster type consciousnesses that were literally consuming me. It's not you. You are so much bigger than any belief, program, behavior. And you've got to look those things straight in the eye. That's the only reason it's coming up. So it's not about controlling it. It's about trusting and remembering that what I need to do is feel it, acknowledge it, right? And for those of you that are going through massive shifts in and out of relationships, in and out of jobs, right? Those are massively occurring right now. Can you remember, where's my picture? Well, can you hold, I don't know where the picture went, but can you hold the aspects of you that you are moving into, which is why this is coming up? I knew when I was going through what I was going through last night that it was coming up so that I could stand in a more aligned, loving, whole, complete aspect of me. I knew that. That is why I allowed myself to be in it. Bring it on. What else do you got? Let's go. So when you are being urged to make these shifts and changes that scare the hell out of you, remember, it's these old consciousnesses, these wheels, or these spokes on the wheel. And it's not coming up because you can't do it. It's coming up because you are designed to move into these new through is acknowledging the wheels, trusting the wheels, or the spokes, right? And speaking the spokes out. What are the spokes saying? What is the fear of leaving your job? Throw it out there. Don't be afraid of it. What's the fears? What's the fear of leaving the relationship? What's the fear of staying in the relationship? Get the fears out. Fear will contract you and keep you in it, right? There's a shame around fears. There's a shame around acknowledging and honoring these spokes. There's a shame around it. Get it out. Speak it to somebody. Write it to somebody. Write it to yourself. Speak it to yourself. Get it out. I promise you, as you start purging it out of your voice, out of your body, out of your being, it won't control you. It won't have the power. And you'll look at it and say, oh, wow, that was easy. I'm going to now change I'm going to now move. I'm going to now do what the higher self is asking and guiding me to do. Nothing is by accident, right? It's all designed perfectly by you, by the way. And you don't have to like it, right? So when you're in a 3D consciousness, you get to have all your emotions around it. Just like when you're in a 4D consciousness and a 5D consciousness, you get to have all your emotions around it. So you get to have all the frustration and anger and like annoyance and like, pounding your feet or whatever you want to feel. You're still shifting. You're still going. The higher self is still going to say, hey, can you look at this spoke? Can you look at this spoke? Can you look at this spoke? And then let's say the spoke is leaving a job or leaving a relationship, right? Okay, that's scary. What are my fears? Okay, what are my beliefs around this? What are the belief systems that are holding me to this spoke? What are the belief systems around leaving a job? What are the belief systems around leaving a relationship? What are the belief systems? Get it out, speak it out, write it, say it to somebody. Shine the light on those belief systems, because then it's going to allow you to see how you have been held on this spoke for so long. And that awareness is going to allow you to say, I'm not choosing this anymore. Okay, great. What are you choosing? What are you going to choose to be? What are you going to choose to believe in? What are you going to choose to trust as your truth? What is it? That I can be happy in a job, that I can have abundance in a job, that I can work in a place where I'm not stressed, right? You have to do this. No one's going to pick you up and just move you here. That I can have a relationship where I'm seen and loved, and it's not about conditions. It's not about whatever it is that the relationship is like right now, right? And you start building this aspect of you, and you start recognizing how freaky it is, how frightening it can be. Wait a second, I don't believe that yet. Okay, that's great. You're still on this spoke. That's okay. But you're building yourself to be able to move into this new version of you. This is manifestation. You are literally moving from one frequency to another frequency. And that other frequency holds the new job. It holds the new relationship. It holds the new whatever it is. It's not even new. It just is. But you can't trick yourself. You can't trick your frequency. You can't trick your vibration. If you're still on this spoke, let yourself be on that spoke. Hold the knowingness that you are teaching yourself how to be in a completely different version. What does it look like? What does it feel like? What does it sound like? And then be authentically honest with yourself about whether you believe that or not. Many times when we try to manifest or intend something, we don't believe it. We don't believe it to be really true. We don't really buy into it yet, which is okay. So we say these things like, oh, I'm going to do this. I'm going to have this. I'm going to create this. I'm going to manifest this. And it's just words, which is great. That's fine. But eventually you actually have to be it. You have to believe it. You have to know it. You have to know it 100%, like you know your name, right? You know your name is John or Sam or whatever your name is, right? 100%, 1000%. I know my name. That's my name. When you manifest something or intend something into your reality, you know it to be that. It is. There's no maybe, there's no gray area, there's no, well, it's 100% knowingness. So when you are intending something, ask yourself, do I know it to be 100% like I know my name, like I know my address, like I know my children's names, right? Nobody can take that. Nobody can persuade you that it's different. Nobody can convince you otherwise. It's the same thing with intending yourself into this aspect of you. And that, by the way, you guys, being in higher states of consciousness, which means that you have to believe, being in higher states of consciousness means that you absolutely, unequivocally know that you will be taken care of financially no matter what. That you will be taken care of financially, meaning you will be provided for with whatever you need, regardless of what the external world looks like, regardless of what your job title is, regardless of where you live, regardless of what you look like. That knowingness is being in higher states of consciousness. And as we are all aware, that's not easy necessarily, right? Because there are these spokes that have programmed and conditioned us to believe otherwise. That's okay. We are all going to be stepping into these new ways of being, which is like, holy shit, I am actually completely taken care of. What do I want to do? What do I want to be? What do I want to experience? Please go and do that and watch miracles happen. Watch miracles, watch abundance come in, watch love come in, watch joy come in. In this older version of us, there's so many conditions and so many ways in which we have been programmed to be that we have a hard time believing that we are capable of being in these other states. You got to jump and you got to start building. You got to start building this version of you by feeling that version of you, telling this version of you what it is, what it looks like, what it feels like, and then recognizing the spokes that are unconscious sometimes, right? They're becoming more and more conscious, more and more conscious. Oh, this belief's coming up, but I'm standing in this version of me that doesn't hold that belief. And I know I am, but the belief's coming up. It's okay. I'm just going to sit with it, love it, feel it, and know that I'm shifting. I don't know what these drawings are, but they work, right? They work. Darn it. There you go, you guys. That is my presentation for the day. That's my presentation. And I hope it was helpful. I hope it was helpful. It's no joke what we're going through. And I have to say, you guys, community is everything right now. Community is everything, which is why I try to go live as often as I can. I haven't been going live as much on YouTube. I go live every week on my Patreon community. And the reason I'm doing this is because it is so important to connect energetically with all of us around the world in a now moment, to be reminded that we are not doing this alone and that we are not crazy. It's huge. If I didn't have my Patreon community, I mean, it saves me. Every week it saves me because it allows me to tap back into the collective in a way that is so powerful. If you have the ability to be in a community right now, go be in the community. You know, a lot of us don't have in-person communities that we can be in. And that will change, but there are so many online communities that you can be a part of. Because I can tell you right now that there was nothing more I was looking forward to this morning than getting onto my Patreon community, because I was struggling, and I needed to connect. And my community doesn't understand, I don't think, how much they mean to me. You know, like when you're a teacher, you're looked at as the one that's teaching, and the one that knows everything, and the one that has gone through it all, right? That's not the case in Ascension. And any teacher that tells you that is not being honest. We're all navigating this together. And there are many people in my Patreon community that are in different states of consciousness, higher states of consciousness at times than I am, and vice versa, right? So am I gifted with certain abilities to connect and communicate to beings of high frequency? Absolutely. But am I just as human as everyone else? Yeah. Do I see things a little bit clear? Yeah. I'm designed to, so I can teach it. But I'm still human. I still curl up in a ball. I still look forward to connecting to my community. Right? When you start being in these higher states of consciousness, there is no hierarchy. There is no better than, less than. There is no, oh, you're experiencing that, there must be something wrong with you, right? There is none of that. So, be gentle with yourselves. I'm going to go sit in an infrared sauna for 45 minutes and just sweat it all out. Take care of yourselves, you guys. Give yourself so much self-love and self-care. What do you need right now? What does your body need? And listen to the ego, the guilt, and the whatever may come in. But what do you need? Give it to yourself. Is it a lunch out? Right? Is it a massage? Is it more time sleeping? Give it to yourself. So with that being said, I'm going to go. I love you all so much. 2 ways of working with me. I'm doing a live journey with the Lyrans tomorrow at 10 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, tomorrow the 31st. It's $29. The link is down below. It's also on my Instagram and Facebook. It's going to be a powerful, powerful journey. And then you can connect on my Patreon. You can just type in Lori Ladd in Patreon. You can type in Stargate Circle. But the easiest way to find it is to just type my name, Lori Ladd, and you'll find it. It's also in the links below. I love you guys. Thank you for being here. Really, thank you for being in your body. Thank you for dropping down into this experience. Thank you for being the way shower and the light worker and the starseed. Many of you have been here for many, many lifetimes, and this is your very first lifetime. So thank you. It's a beautiful ride. It's a magical ride, and we are shifting into higher states of consciousness every day. And it's going to get more and more magnificent, more and more beautiful, more and more powerful. That's why we're doing this. We are absolutely doing this to be able to be in the higher states. There's no other way. It's a one-way ticket, right? No going back. We're just in it. So just remember that, okay? I love you guys. I'll see you when I see you. Lots of love.